Hey guys, this is Primoz from highstakesmindset.com. Today I'm here with Carolyn. So, hi Carolyn.
Hey, Primoz.
So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a resume writer and consultant, and back when I worked in corporate, I was an executive assistant on Wall Street.
Okay, that is awesome. Now, Carolyn here actually has a lot of experience with developing different systems. So, can you maybe elaborate on that a bit? Like, what kind of systems have you developed specifically, and why do you feel like they are so important?
Oh yeah, sure. I can think of two right off the bat.
Mhm.
When I was an assistant, I was doing heavy calendar management for really time-strapped executives who were jetting all over the world. So one of the things I did is using a calendar, I would be able to track what everyone was doing at any particular time, but I would get ultra specific in the calendar. So I would include phone numbers, addresses, directions, confirmation numbers. If someone was traveling, I would include, the airport terminal. In this way, the people involved didn't have to do any extra thinking. They could just go about their day and didn't have to give a second glance to where they had to go or who they had to speak with. And that's a system I use in my own life now, running my own business.
Hmm.
The second system that I use is a system called Evernote. But you
Mhm.
can use any system. Some people use Google Docs. But I actually create an agenda before I go to bed every night, so I know exactly what I'm doing the following day.
Okay, so you mean like do you actually plan every single hour of your day?
Not always. I allow wiggle room just because I'm so busy that my schedule does change. But just having a basic idea of what my priorities are for the following day and knowing what I can let drop, what doesn't need to get done, allows me to shape my day instead of letting my life dictate to me what happens. Um, yeah. So.
Okay, so one thing that you mentioned is that when someone, for example, one of the executives that you were an assistant of was going on a plane, like you would write down everything that they needed to know, right?
Oh yeah.
And you said that you also do this for yourself. So can you maybe give us a practical example of how someone can use these like details, what details to write, and how does that even help him like make progress in the future?
Oh yeah, sure. I keep templates. So I don't even, for example, when I started out doing calendars, I wasn't even sure what to include. So I
Mhm.
started keeping a tally of what was used on itineraries and what people would need. An executive would come back to me and say, I couldn't find a phone number for where I was supposed to go. Whatever. So I would keep templates of the information I would include
Mm.
going forward, so I wouldn't have to recreate the wheel every time.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because like you want to create modules or templates. Like if you're doing the same things over and over again, you're using some documents for like reviewing your hands or something like that. You want to include everything, like links to those documents. If you use Google Docs, that's great. You can also use Evernote or something like that, and you can just link to the documents online directly. So you also mentioned Evernote. Like, what kind of system do you use with Evernote? Is it like to-do lists or is it something else?
I don't, you know what? This is probably going to sound sacrilegious, but I don't like to-do lists because it's
Okay.
so easy to put something on there and then it never gets done because
Mm.
there's no deadline, which is why I like putting things in a calendar or I put it in my agenda, but I only put one or two things a day that I have to do. And then everything else I can put off. When I put timelines on things, they get done. If I put it on a to-do list, it doesn't get done, and then I feel really bad about myself because I feel like I'm dropping the ball and being lazy, and it feels like I'm setting myself up for failure.
Okay, that's a great insight actually. And like, can you tell us a little bit more about how to set efficient deadlines? Because I mean, like someone watching this video, will be like, okay, so you set deadlines, so what can I do with this? Like, how do I get started?
Yeah, that's a great question. Whenever I set deadlines, I first plan out exactly what I have to do to get from the start to the finish. If I'm working on a project or I want to bring in new clients, I work back from the end goal and figure out, okay, what exactly do I have to do to get there? Because then it gives me concrete steps. And then I realize, you know what, like, okay, if I want to get X more clients a week and I have to do X, Y, and Z, that's going to take me a month. That gives me a timeline. So, saying like, oh, I can do that in a week that's ridiculous, that's impossible, and then I set myself up for failure. So when I have an ultra clear plan, I can then figure out the amount of time that I'm going to need for it.
Okay. Yeah, that's great. So, how about scheduling? Like someone who's never done scheduling before, like I know that I've tried scheduling before, it didn't work out so well for me, but the main problem was probably that like when I tried scheduling, I would make an agenda of my whole day and I would never schedule anything before that, right? So what happened is I would do like 2 items, get stuck on the third one, and it would fall apart completely, and I would spend like 3 days planning it and then like destroying everything. So how can someone actually get started in a way that he can actually build a habit out of scheduling?
I would say that systems are in place to serve you. And if you're putting a lot of time and energy into a system and it's creating a bigger headache for you, you really need to look at the system and reevaluate what you're doing. Some people, I don't know, you know what, scheduling works for me. That's what I found works. Maybe it doesn't work for other people. I would suggest that people experiment and find what works best for them. And I would start out small. Because if you give yourself Mount Everest to climb, you're just going to get overwhelmed and you're just going to wipe out, and it's ridiculous. You're not going to get anywhere. So I would start out, you know, really, really simple. Schedule 1 or 2 things. Keep your schedule really flexible, and just focus on, okay, tomorrow, this is the priority that I need to get done, and this is what I'm going to focus on. So start small.
Awesome. So like, if you guys want to use scheduling, like a great tool for that is obviously Google Calendar that you can use on the internet. You can also put it on your phone, so basically you can see when you have the appointments, get email reminders and stuff like that. I suppose you use the same thing, right?
Yeah, you know what, Primoz, there are so many free or super inexpensive products out there. Like, some people have asked me, oh, you know, do I have to buy software, you know, Outlook, whatever, and it's like, no, use Google Calendar, use Google Docs, use Evernote. There's a ton of free products out there that you can use really, really easy.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and usually, I mean, I personally don't need to really buy anything that would like help me organize myself, because I mean, there really is no need, because you need to build a system for yourself anyways, and you want something that's flexible, and you can do a lot of stuff with just like Google Spreadsheets or Evernote or maybe Google Calendar or something like that. So let's wrap it up slowly. Can I ask you, like, what is your one key takeaway from this conversation? Like, if there is one thing that people who are listening to this should implement tomorrow, like what would that thing be, and what are the like 3 specific action steps that they can really take tomorrow or even today?
I would say write down on a piece of paper your problem spots in your life. Like, where are you really struggling? Because when you write things down, they become real to you. It's not like you can actually make up any more excuses or just ignore them. So maybe for some people it might be time, in which case maybe a calendar would really benefit them. Or maybe it's something else. Maybe they need to plan their day better. But they'll be very clear about what is really causing them a lot of pain in their life. And then I would just start experimenting. I think the great thing about experimentation is you're not bound to anything. If something doesn't work, you just try something different. And I think that's what all top performers do. They're always experimenting to find out better ways of living their life.
Yeah, that's definitely something like all of the successful people and top performers that I know, they always experiment a lot and they strive to always find new solutions. And they fail a lot. I mean, you probably fail a lot as well, right? I mean, there's so much that doesn't work, right?
I fail a lot, and obviously I'm not trying to fail, that's not the goal, but I know that if I'm not failing enough in a given month, then I'm not trying enough new things. Because every time I fail, it teaches me what not to do, and ultimately my successes become greater and greater, because I know now how to bypass certain things. And for example, I have these awesome systems now. Like, I don't have to recreate the wheel every time that, you know, I take a trip or I take on a new client. I have systems in place for how to do all of this stuff.
Yeah, I think that's a really great final insight. We're gonna wrap it up here. Thank you so much, Carolynn, for taking the time out of your day, and I hope that we do another one of these in the future.
Thanks, Primoz. My pleasure.